Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. The process of appointing vice-chancellors at 2 universities halted due to power politics, 3 universities operating without leadership. The number of tourists arriving through air route in Nepal increases compared to last year. At least 100,000 arrived by February, the highest being from India. 1 in 8 people in the world are living with obesity, according to World Health Organization. Adult obesity more than doubled since 1990, adolescents quadrupled. And Machindra Football Club up against New Road Team NRT today in the final of the second installment of Kpol Cup National Football Tournament. The process for appointment of vice-chancellors at 2 universities have been halted as there were speculations that the candidates preferred by the ruling coalition might not be appointed. This includes Sudur Pashchim University and Madhya Pashchim University. The process is believed to have been halted under the influence of Prime Minister himself. With this, 3 universities in the country are operating without a leadership. A special committee was formed under the leadership of University Grant Commission head Devraj Adhikari that called for applications for the post on 9th of February. 9 applicants submitted their interest in each university as they were evaluated and points recommended, based on which the candidates close to the ruling alliance came behind, lowering their chances of them being appointed. As a result, the appointment process has been halted. Elsewhere in Purvanchal University, 18 had submitted their applications for the post of Vice-Chancellor. The committee formed under the leadership of Minister for Education has yet to move forward with the appointment process despite the lapse of almost 1 month. In all 3 cases, experts say political power bargain has caused the stalemate and is in sharp contrast to the commitment by Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal to rid the universities of political interference. More than 100,000 tourists have visited Nepal through air routes in the past 2 months. 79,100 came in January and 97,423 in February, according to Nepal Tourism Board. The number of international visitors increased by 43% in January and 33% last month. The highest number of visitors are from India at 25,500, followed by China at 9,100 and the US at 9,000. The board has said the frequency of visitors from Bangladesh has also been on the rise in recent time. Last February, 1,900 Bangladeshi visitors had come to Nepal, which stood at 4,000 this February. This is an increase by 114%. 36% of the total international tourists that travel to Nepal are from the South Asian region. 24% are from other Asian countries, 15% are from European countries, 10% are American, and 9.7% from other nations. The government claims that only 2% of Nepali nationals are deprived of electricity and 98% have access to power. However, quality electricity is limited to urban areas and district headquarters. In the absence of reliable electricity, many Nepali nationals have yet to be able to use power without any concerns. Power outages and dim lighting remain an issue in many parts of the country. Because of government indifference on investment in infrastructure, many Nepali nationals have not been able to use quality electricity. Electricity is yet to reach several parts of Karnali province. Even in those areas with access to electricity, the consumers are not entirely out of darkness. The lighting is dim in the mountainous and hilly districts with regular power outages. Cooking food with electricity costs 40% cheaper than liquefied petroleum gas or LPG. However, with regular power outages, residents of rural areas are compelled to use cooking gas instead of induction stoves, even while having access to electricity. The industrial and agricultural sector share similar grievances regarding lack of quality electricity. Failure in managing the balance between annual production and demand has created challenges for the Nepal Electricity Authority to sell excessive power during monsoon and address local demand during winter. Around 3,000 megawatts of electricity is produced in Nepal during monsoon season, which is 80% more than the demand of 1,900 megawatts. However, only 1/3 of the demand is produced during winter, meaning Nepal has to import around 600 megawatts from India. While there is no balance between production and demand, the quality of power faces questions as well. The NEA, which had generated 14.5 billion rupees by selling 1.62 billion units of power to India during last monsoon, had imported electricity worth 19 billion rupees in previous winter. Hence, it is imperative to develop infrastructures, including transmission lines and charging stations, to curb the import of petroleum products and increase domestic consumption of electricity. Ensuring quality electricity for the domestic demand is the best solution to ensuring economic prosperity. And in this context, in our Public Voice segment, we've asked people in several provinces how reliable is the electricity supply in their region. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
हल्का तार हल्लिँदाखेरिमा पनि बत्ती जान्छ अब अफिसमा जानकारी गराए कसैले रेस्पोन्स गर्दैन
भरपर्दो छैन गइरहन्छ बत्ती आउने जाने गरिरहन्छ
भरपर्दो छैन जति बेला नि लाइन जान्छ जति बेला नि चाहिँ त्यो अवरोध भइराछ
भोल्टेज पुग्दैन
आउने जाने के ठेगानको छैन कहिले हामीहरुले चाहिँ नि फ्रिजको मा राखेको सामानहरु पनि त्यसले पनि समस्या हुन्छ
पानी आयो भने पनि बत्ती जान्छ हावाहुरी आयो भने पनि बत्ती जान्छ के भरपर्दो छ
चाहिएको बेलामा एसी नै चल्दैन अब यसलाई भरपर्दो भनौं कि नभनौं
घरमा प्रयोग हुने विद्युतीय उपकरणहरु एकपछि अर्को चलाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ विद्युत झर्ने मिटर झर्ने समस्या छ
The Bank Account for Daughters for Secure Life program, introduced by Karnali Province government with much significance 5 years ago, is now stranded. In the initial years of the program, the province government had allocated 70 million rupees in budget, which was increased to 126 million in fiscal year 2020-21, 160 million in 21-22, and 200 million the year later. Despite allocating tens of millions of rupees, the government has not released funds to the local levels in the past 2 years. Despite allocating 250 million rupees for the program for the ongoing fiscal year, the government has said it will ensure regular implementation following revisions in the modality of the program. Members of the Provincial Assembly have said that the program was halted because of government not taking the ownership of the program, considered very important for the daughters in Karnali. The government, which opened bank accounts of 41,572 daughters in 3 years, does not have records of expenditure. Based on the working procedure, the government is to deposit 121,000 rupees in the bank account of one daughter in the entire period of 20 years, while the daughter would have withdrawn around 200,000 rupees, including interest, after reaching the age of 20. However, despite reaching 20 years, the daughters would not have been eligible to withdraw the amount if they had not completed higher education and were married before the legal age. Meanwhile, the arrangement allows withdrawal funds in case of death of the account holder. Amount can also be withdrawn before the period of 20 years in case of serious illnesses, injury, or the death of parents and guardians, leading to financial hardships. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, why have province government's projects focused on girls not been successful? Your options are A, corruption, B, lack of commitment, and C, inadequate budget. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. More than 1 billion people globally are now considered obese, a condition linked to an increased risk of numerous serious health problems, according to updated estimates from the World Health Organization. Worldwide, obesity has more than doubled since 1990, and adolescent obesity quadrupled. In 2022, 2.5 billion adults were overweight and 890 million were living with obesity. 37 million children under the age of 5 were overweight. Over 390 million children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 years were overweight, including 160 million who were living with obesity. Voting for Iran's 12th Parliament and 6th Assembly of Experts ended at 1200 Saturday local time after 16 straight hours. The voting began at 800 Friday local time at 59,000 polling stations across the country, with more than 15,000 candidates competing for 290 seats in the Iranian parliament and 144 candidates vying for positions at the 8-year term Assembly of Experts, an 88-member body that oversees the activities of Iran's supreme leader and is empowered to designate and dismiss the supreme leader. A total of 61.17 million people, comprising 30.94 million men and 30.22 million women, were eligible to vote in the two elections, according to the Iranian Election Office affiliated to the Interior Ministry. The voting was initially scheduled to end at 1800 local time, but was extended 3 times, with each extension lasting for a 2-hour period. Hamas has said 7 hostages being held in the Gaza Strip have died. The group has blamed the deaths on Israeli bombardment and said a number of its fighters were also killed. It said the number of hostages killed might now exceed 70. This comes after Thursday's incident where the Israeli side attacked Palestinians queuing for aid. Gaza health authorities said Israeli forces had killed more than 100 people trying to reach a relief convoy near Gaza City, with famine looming nearly 5 months into the war that began with the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7. Israel blamed most of the deaths on crowds that swarmed around aid trucks, saying victims had been trampled or run over. An Israeli official also said troops had, in a limited response, later fired on crowds they felt had posed a threat. The incident has underscored the collapse of orderly aid deliveries in Gaza, occupied by Israeli forces with no administration in place, and the main UN agency UNRWA hamstrung by an inquiry into alleged links with Hamas. Israel's air and ground campaign in Gaza since October 7 has now killed at least 30,228 Palestinians and 71,377 have been injured. Some 193 Palestinians have been killed and 920 injured in the past 24 hours. Some Palestinians injured in Gaza when aid trucks entered have said that Israeli forces shot them as they rushed to get food for their families, describing a scene of terror and chaos.
رحنا من الساعة 7 العشاء، ضلينا لتاني يوم الساعة 5 الصبح. لما انه مرقت المساعدات رحت اللي هو بدأت الدبابة والقوات تقطر الطوخ، فتصابت في طراقين في ظهري. وضليتنا انزف لمدة ساعة قبل ما يجي أحد من أقربائي ودينا على المستشفى.
US President Joe Biden has said he hoped there would be a ceasefire deal between Israel and militant group Hamas by the time of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan, which starts on March 10th. Biden spoke to reporters as he left the White House and said that they are still working hard on it. Earlier, Biden announced plans to carry out a first military airdrop of food and supplies into Gaza a day after the deaths of Palestinians queuing for aid, threw a spotlight on an unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in the crowded coastal enclave. Biden said the U.S. airdrop would take place in the coming days, but offered no further specifics. Other countries, including Jordan and France, have already carried out airdrops of aid into Gaza. Meanwhile, White House spokesman John Kirby has said the United States is going to redouble efforts to open up a maritime corridor into Gaza to bring hopefully large amounts of humanitarian aid by sea. A maritime corridor would be on top of efforts to expand delivery of aid by land, and Washington will continue to push Israel to facilitate more trucks going in and more routes being opened into Gaza, Kirby told a briefing. At least 576,000 people in Gaza, a quarter of the enclave's population, are one step away from famine, according to UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Russian opposition politician Alexi Navali has been buried at Moscow's Borisovskoye cemetery. Thousands of Russians chanted Alexi Navali's name and said they would not forgive the authorities for his death, as the opposition leader was laid to rest in Moscow. Navalny, President Vladimir Putin's fiercest critic inside Russia, died at the age of 47 in an Arctic penal colony on February 16th, sparking accusations from his supporters that he had been murdered. The Kremlin has denied any state involvement in his death. Many thousands of people turned out to pay their respects at the cemetery and outside the Soothe My Sorrows Church in southeast Moscow, where Orthodox priests held a short funeral service before the body was taken to the cemetery. Machindra Football Club are up against Neuro Team NRT today at the final of the second installment of Kpol Cup National Football Tournament. The match has been slated for 5 p.m. kickoff at Dashrath Stadium as defending champions Machindra is looking to lift its second title. NRT had entered into the final defeating Jalakil Youth Club 3-0 on Thursday. Machindra had made its way to the title decider with a 5-0 thumping of Indian side Mane Bhanjang FC. The winners are taking away 1.1 million rupees and the runners-up 500,000 rupees. Likewise, the organizers will also felicitate outstanding player with 100,000 rupees and outstanding goalkeeper, goal scorer and rising player with 50,000 rupees each. Nepal women's football team that reached the final of WAF Women Championship has returned home. The team arrived last night and were received by ENFA head Pankaj Nimon. The team were cheered for their result as runners-up of the tournament in their first participation itself. Nepal had lost to strong opponent Jordan in tiebreaker in the final. Preeti Rai and Rashmi Kumari Kissing, who sustained injuries during the final, came on wheelchairs. Nepal is playing against Bangladesh in the Under-16 Women's Championship. The match is scheduled to kick off at 3 p.m. at ENFA Complex in Saddobato. The tournament had been played in the Under-15 format and was revised to Under-16 format from this edition. Both the sides are looking to kick off their campaign with a win today. Hosts Nepal are also the defending champions, having won the 2022 edition held in Bangladesh. The tournament is being played in a single round format and each participating teams play with one another. The top two teams from the league round will play in the title decider on 10th of March. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.